but I have heard that Margot Robbie can indeed choose eyes that she can cry from. That sounded really weird,
Wild.
but like that
Yeah.
because there's a scene where she's like, "Do you want the tear from the left eye or right eye?" As if she could choose. And I've heard that that's a legitimate talent that Margot Robbie has.
What did you do for Thanksgiving?
I made Thanksgiving dinner with my parents on Thursday, and then on Friday drove 4 hours down to Boulder, Utah to have dinner at Hell's Backbone Grill.
Your favorite.
My favorite. It was so good.
I don't think they can sponsor you, but if they could, they would.
If they could, they would. I'd love to be sponsored by a restaurant.
Hell's Backbone Grill.
Did
Is
you?
it? Well, went back to Chicago with the future in-laws.
Yes.
Stayed in most of the time because it was super cold. Black Friday shopping. My family never got up super early. Hers always does. So we got out of the house late at 8 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
Late, and then drove 45 minutes to Wisconsin. And then it was like 7 degrees with wind chill. So I was not prepared.
Yeah, I'm not really a Black Friday kind of guy.
It's not the same with all the online shopping. I guess you can still get good deals, but I don't think I care about clothes that much for it to be really worth it. Or like a TV. You know, in the old days, you could like buy a killer TV for 200 bucks. Now any good TV is 200 bucks. So is it part of your tradition to go see a movie around Thanksgiving time?
No, actually, it's not.
Really?
I know.
Growing
I
up,
know
my
most
family
people
did
do.
every year. Yeah. So you haven't seen Wicked Part 1 then?
No, I have not. Although I have tentative
Oh
plans to go see it next
boy.
week.
Okay,
I've
okay.
I've heard good things.
It'll be spoiler free. And have you ever seen the stage play, the musical?
Nope.
Oh, it'll be all new for you.
Yeah.
Did you grow up watching The Wizard of Oz?
I mean, I've seen it, but not like,
Okay.
a piece of my family culture. No.
Yeah. I feel like I saw it often enough growing up. I mean, we probably watch it maybe a couple times a year in some of my earlier years, so I remember it really well. I did have to go to YouTube for like a 1 2 minute, video on like a recap for my partner and her family. They'd never seen it, and honestly, the recap did a good job. I was like, wow.
Hmm.
When you put it that way, first off, it's a crazy story of
Do I
Oz.
need to know what happens in The Wizard of Oz before I go in?
Kind of. The start of the movie begins, and the play, it begins right after Dorothy has left, and so the Wicked Witch is dead, and she comes back to the town of the Munchkins, she being
Hmm.
Glinda. So that's like the first 5 to 10 minutes is everyone being like, thank heavens the Green Witch is dead. She's evil. She's the worst. And then it rolls back the clock and tells you their story. So
Interesting.
if you don't have the context that the Wicked Witch is wicked and she's dead, you might not get the first part.
Okay, well, I'll try. I'll find a recap.
It'll be good. Yeah, I'll put one in the show notes. It's 2 minutes long. You're good. I think the movie's good. I think it goes a little slower than the play, as it should. You have a lot more time. One thing a lot of people were loving is that there were tons of practical sets. Like a lot of the set pieces
Mhm.
are built out practically. Of course, you zoom out and it's all CGI around it or whatever else. But it does have a good amount of practicality to it, which is cool. John Chu puts a lot of work into the movies he directs, like In the Heights or this or Crazy Rich Asians.
I heard a lot of talk about like the color grading, that it felt kind of flat and washed.
Yeah, don't get me started on it. I think it should have been a lot more colorful. It was weird. It felt grittier than it should have been as a Wicked movie. But that's
Right.
just me. Ariana Grande's a little weirdo, you know? She does a great job, but she's a little weirdo. Cynthia Erivo, fantastic. A lot of the cast just feels like they are like living their dream, getting to act in this movie. Bowen Yang, we love Bowen Yang. Little Jeff Goldblum in there. Michelle Yeoh is fantastic. Jonathan Bailey's really good. There's some good voice acting. Peter Dinklage lends his voice to a character. Anyways, it's a fun time. Wicked fans will love it. Non-Wicked fans will probably love it. People who love musicals love it. People who don't love musicals, it has enough talking points for it not to be like Les Mis. It doesn't sing the whole way
Yeah,
through. They stop
that's
and
good.
talk.
No,
So
I'll probably like it. It's watching trailers for this. It's a movie that I didn't want to do well.
yeah.
I don't know why, but occasionally there are just movies where I see the trailers and I'm just like, I hope that this just flops.
Can I tell you
And
part of the? Oh, go ahead.
yes, no, tell me.
I think it's they over marketed it, right?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
We either have no marketing or it's like since the Paris Olympics, it's been like green cups of McDonald's and they're all over Target and they got posters everywhere and wicked deals on your new Subaru. It's just like it's too much. They've put
Yeah,
so much into it. It's almost like they don't trust it. Therefore, it feels overdone.
yeah.
But maybe that's it.
I don't know.
All right. Wicked good time. I saw it around Thanksgiving. Tell me what you think of it once you see it.
I will.
You
I
would.
did though
Yeah.
see Gladiator 2.
Let's hear about your
Did you
Gladiator
did
2
you see it?
thoughts. I still haven't seen it yet.
Still haven't seen it? Okay. So it's a direct sequel to the first Gladiator movie, which I saw once when I was like 13, maybe, edited from TV.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to watch like a YouTube recap before I went in, just so that I had some pieces. I Denzel Washington eats it up. He's
Really.
so good in his scenes. Yeah, I love Paul Mescal. I think he did a really good job. It was really kind of an epic role, but maybe a little miscast
Yeah.
because part of the plot is like Denzel Washington finds this guy who's Paul Mescal, right? Because he's a gladiator trader, so he searches through slaves and finds people he thinks can be gladiators, and Paul Mescal's characters gets absconded or gets kidnapped away from his village that Rome like sacks,
Yeah.
and Denzel Washington is like, yeah, you've got rage, and that's your secret superpower in the gladiator or the Colosseum. And like you look at Paul Mescal and it's like, no, this guy is made of kindness. I don't believe that he's a rageful guy. And so to have that kind of like multiple times, like they make reference to his anger or his rage, and I just don't believe that Pal that like he just his eyes are way too nice. He's got such kind eyes that I just don't buy him as a rageful character. And
Yeah.
so I think you either got to tweak the script at that point and like, you know, change the focus energetically so that it makes more sense with Paul Mescal, or you find someone who looks like they've got rage in their eyes.
Yeah. You don't try to oversell the softest, most in touch with his feminine side Irish
He's just
boy.
baby boy. Yeah, he's just a baby boy. Like, I mean, he looks great. He fights. The fight scenes are fantastic. He's really believable as like a leader of men that people want to follow. Like that's all so believable. I will say that I think it is not a perfect movie. They talk a lot about how Rome like is falling and like, but they never show it, right?
Interesting.
They never really show why the rule of these twin emperors is so bad, other than the fact that they're just young and immature. So they never really show on the street level like why this thing needs to happen. It's just kind of like you're bumping shoulders with aristocrats and rich people the entire time, and so you never really get to see like why Rome is poised to fall.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal does such a good job.
Really?
Yeah, he his character is kind of a celebrated Roman war general who the people love, who wants nothing more than to retire. Like he's done
Yeah.
fighting, but the emperors won't let him be done, and he's just like, I'm just ready to like retire and be with my wife.
Yeah. I heard some criticism of his acting. Some people had told me that they thought he was acting in a completely different movie. Like they were like, he showed up with a very different idea of what was going on than everyone else. But you didn't feel that way.
No, like if anything, Denzel Washington's character is the one that is like is different from everyone else, but like in a really good way. Like
Yeah.
the way that he has command of a scene. Like every time he's in a scene, he's commanding it, and like I don't know if he's getting like stage direction on his blocking and the way that he moves around a set, but like it's masterful
Wow.
because I'm just sitting there watching him like move from one place to another while giving dialogue. And I'm like, none of that is necessary, but he's doing it anyways to
Yeah.
kind of like sell his characterization. And it's really, really well done. Yeah. So it's hard for me to say that Pedro Pascal didn't feel like he was in place because it felt like he was, but I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe more so Denzel, but even then, not bad out of place.
No, he just owned it.
Did you see the Coen brothers Macbeth they did with Denzel?
No. Or maybe I did.
It's weird. Maybe you should be sipping on something, or have had a half a gummy a little bit before,
Yeah.
or just be totally into the magnificence of this version of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you should watch it. I watched it during the pandemic. It was like 2021, I want to say, or 22.
Hmm.
It's in black and white, but Denzel is speaking the King's English and Shakespeare just directly, does not deviate or anything else. And that's when you realize you're like, oh, all these years everyone just thinks of him as like Man on Fire or remember the Titans guy. He is a Shakespeare loving actor who really
Yeah.
takes it over. And like you're saying, he understands it so well. I'm excited to see what he does next, but it's cool that he didn't put on an accent for Gladiator, but he fit right in.
No, he didn't. Did sorry.
Cut,
I'm
cut, cut,
drinking a
cut.
kombucha right now. Had a little komburpa. No, that he's Ryan Coogler is writing him a role into Black Panther 3.
Yeah, there's been some some back and forth on that because he was not announced by Disney or Marvel, meaning it hasn't been approved or like set by them, but he was like, "Nah, it's happening. I'm gonna make this one of my last moves before retiring." And everyone's like, "Talk about calling your shot. They're not gonna not cast him now. He's just
Yeah.
earned himself the role."
Yeah. And like I feel like I've seen him like in the press interviews or whatever, just be like, yeah, I don't audition anymore. I just get the roles that I want. I'm just like,
Yeah.
this guy,
Yeah,
this guy
must be nice. Must be nice.
must be nice. Makes
All
me want to
right.
like go back. Although like I don't really love like the Equalizer or those kind of movies. Like they're just not my speed. But like the Book of Eli, amazing.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, Denzel. All right. Gladiator 2, still in theaters probably by the time listening.
Yeah.
If not, it'll be on streaming somewhere because everything is. You think it's a good one, should be watched. Let's go to streaming for me. Let's talk about The Madness. Have you heard about this yet on Netflix TV miniseries?
No.
So it's 8 episodes, 50 minutes apiece, maybe a little less, whatever else. The show has a good writing staff, if we're just going to talk about it, it's got a good writing staff. And it's starring Coleman Domingo, the creator Stephen Belver, who's done a couple other kind of like limited series, miniseries. I don't know if you'd recognize anything. Coleman Domingo, we've got John Ortiz, who's just great. I don't, did you watch Bad Monkey yet?
No.
No. Okay, he was also in Bad Monkey. This is a story of a CNN reporter who goes on a weekend trip to the woods and then is framed for the murder of a white supremacist. So
Mm.
already you're like, what? 1, 2, 3 ABC? You sold me on the log line. It struggles with pacing a little bit. It struggles with getting, tripping over itself. You can tell some episodes were written in two different rooms and only brought together when they were both done and didn't want to change anything. But that said, it's a fun one. It's kind of like The Fugitive meets Black Klansman or something else. He's kind of like going underground, trying to figure this out, finds there's an order of people above him who have kind of pegged him with this. And so it's not just like one guy trying to get him. But it's fun, it's good, and also Coleman Domingo is just so, so good. It definitely makes me want to watch Sing Sing more. His big movie it's getting a lot of Oscar buzz already before we even kind of finalize our lists. So this is a good one on Netflix. A little to no marketing. Some people have heard about it, but 8 episodes, not too long, and it's been fun.
Interesting. I haven't even like heard of it.
Yeah, the marketing's dead. I just I feel for the people that make these shows to know you could put in years of your life to something, and Netflix is like, put it on a tile, we'll see what happens next week, and that's that.
Yeah, that's wild. Because I feel like like the marketing for Arcane. Did you watch Arcane?
It's on my list, but no, I haven't
So I,
watched
I
it.
haven't I haven't seen it, or I haven't seen through all of it. But the marketing I feel like was, I mean, maybe it was just because on Twitter, every like the kind of the circles that I'm in, like people were just talking about it all the time, and
Yeah.
so I just knew that this thing was coming out. But yeah, like Netflix just doesn't talk about the movies which just seems like a self-defeating.
No better way to test out your marketing team as to just like not market something and see what makes it.
Maybe I could use a job at Netflix's marketing department and I just will do nothing. It's like perfect for me.
You watch something I want to talk about because we already texted about it, but
Yeah.
Babylon, baby.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh,
Oh,
Babylon, right.
then Pirates.
Yeah, no, I watched Babylon. I missed its theatrical run and have heard from both you and other people that have seen it. I'm pretty sure my parents saw it, and
Yeah.
which, it's crazy that my parents saw it. But I saw some buzz about it on Twitter like a couple weeks ago, and I thought, now, I gotta just find the time to do this. And so, yeah, I watched it. It's kind of dark,
Yeah.
kind of chaotic. I'm pretty sure I just texted you like, this is chaos and boobs is the plot of this movie. There's
Yeah.
just like that opening scene is just this. Oh, well, not the opening scene, because the opening scene's with the elephant and the shit. I was like, what am I watching right now?
Uh-huh.
Why am I being forced to look at this, to watch this happen?
Yeah.
And for anyone who's seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But then that huge party, like orgy thing, I'm just like, holy cow, just count the boobs that are on screen right now. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, where's the intimacy coordinator? Did they have an intimacy? They had to have had an intimacy coordinator for this. And yeah, Margot Robbie killed it. She just has this magnetism, this charisma. And yeah, like, just she owns every scene that she's in. And this is very chaotic Margot Robbie. And I loved that it kind of, because I guess it's Damien Chazelle, so this is La La Land. And this is kind of like the other side of the coin, I think, because La La Land was optimistic, optimistic. It was bright, it was shiny, it was romantic, it had a lot of heart. And this is like, no, Hollywood's going to churn it through people.
Yeah.
And it's like people and talent are the fuel that runs the economic engine of Hollywood. And it doesn't really care what it does to people as long as a product gets made. But I really loved the scenes that really stood out to me were the ones where Brad Pitt was very clearly trashed, inebriated all day from, prepping for this role in the silent film. And he's like stumbling around as they're about to call action. And then as soon as they call action, he stands up straight, delivers his lines like he's, the king or whatever. And I'm just like, wow, is that what it's actually like to be an actor, where you're just like, you're just able to just turn it on?
Yeah.
And then there are scenes like that with Margot Robbie where, she comes into a bar saloon and while being filmed, and she just chews up the scenery. And then the director realizes what talent she has, and she gets her to cry. And then Margot Robbie can just like turn it on,
Yeah.
and then turn it off, and turn it on, and turn it off. And it's just like, it's impeccable talent. And it's hard for me to like know if that is how it actually is with actors, or if that is just how it is within the context of this movie. But I have heard that Margot Robbie can indeed choose eyes that she can cry from. That sounded really weird.
Wild.
But like,
Yeah.
because there's a scene where she's like, do you want a tear from the left eye or right eye? As if she could choose. And I've heard that that's a legitimate talent that Margot Robbie has.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, wild.
So you liked
Yeah,
it
fun movie.
overall. Fun
Yeah, I
movie.
liked it overall. But it just it didn't have the heart that like La La Land did. And I think that might have been on purpose. But a lot of the buzz that I saw on Twitter was like, I can't believe, this didn't like catch fire like, like La La Land did. And watching it, I can kind of guess, like see why that didn't happen. It's obviously a movie full of talent with a lot of like wacky, zany scenes. Like the thing with the rattlesnake, holy cow. Like,
Wild.
what the hell with the knife and then sucking the venom out of her neck. I'm just like, again, what am I watching? So very fun, but it kind of lacked the character, like the depth of character that like I loved and cared for them, like the same way I would have like in La La Land.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about this a couple months ago, trying to convince them to watch it. My missionary work. Anyways, I told him if you imagine that this movie was made by Martin Scorsese, it's easier to watch. If you
Yeah.
just sit down and you're like, this is almost more like Damien Chazelle doing his Wolf of Wall Street of like, it's fucked
Yeah.
up, there's fucked up people, dreams are going to be smashed and burned on the way, to pave the pearly gates to Hollywood, to pave the roads to Hollywood. Anyways, I think that when watching this movie, yeah, it definitely does not have the allure of a La La Land. And if he had done it for $50 million cheaper, it would have been just fine. I
Yeah.
think the problem is the budget was so high for it, and the advertising for this movie was freaking wild. Every freaking movie you went to, you saw this trailer. Every time you opened YouTube, it was all over the place. And I think $110 million for this is just too much, and it's going to make people scared. Whereas if it was $60 million, it would have been a huge hit, a success. Everyone loves it, you know? I mean, it only grossed $64 million worldwide. And knowing that it came out in 2022 when COVID was like it's pseudo being done, December 2022, it just was a mixture of all the wrong things at all the wrong time.
Yeah. And it was
But
3 hours, like, don't get me wrong, I love long movies, but I love long movies that tell you where it's going. And
yeah,
this, like with La La Land, you kind of knew the structure of what the story is. It was a love story, you kind of like, you just anticipate the flow of the narrative. With
yeah.
this one, it drops you in and you really don't know where the story's headed at any moment. And that makes it harder to like, to enjoy as you're watching it, because you're just getting thrown things one after another. That's not to say that they're not enjoyable. Like the scene on the soundstage where
Oh yeah.
they're like, that scene goes on for probably 25 minutes, but it's so fun to watch everyone fall apart trying to get all these takes, trying to incorporate sound into film for the first time. Like, it's kind of crazy. So it is still kind of like a love letter to Hollywood, but like a thank you, or like I love you and hate you love letter to Hollywood.
How'd you feel about that last little montage?
Which one?
The one with all you know, is it Manny? What's the guy's name? Yeah, Manny's sitting in the theater and he's
Oh
watching a
yeah.
movie, and then the next thing you know, you just get clips from all these movies in rapid succession.
Yeah. No, that was, again, it was kind of a moment where I'm like, is this like the rap party on Hollywood? Like
Yeah.
what's trying to what's trying to get across here? Like, what's the narrative point of this, other than like, you see a bunch of characters who are kind of the foundation of Hollywood's golden era, and then it plays through like, oh, and this is what you get out of all the misery that you just saw our characters go through. You just get these awesome movies and clips. But it's kind of interesting when movies lean on the fourth wall like that, right? Because these characters, I mean, it's a fictional characters who are, I guess, based on real people making fictional movies inside of a fictional Hollywood, and yet then we see a bunch of clips from actual movies that are, from like the fourth wall world, our world, and yeah, so it's kind of, blends the line. I don't know. What do you think?
It's interesting to me. Yeah, I feel like I'll say this too. It just feels like it's his movie he did too early. He should have waited a little bit. Like Spielberg and Fablemans, you don't do the really heartfelt, important piece at the beginning of your career. And I think Damien just did this a little too early because I think in that last montage, he's trying to say too much for his age and his
Mm-hmm.
rapport. A lot of the movies they show in there were either like high points or beginnings of new parts of cinema or new ages or low points. I know that when Avatar came out in 2009, Roger Ebert kind of slammed it in certain aspects and says it's unimaginative, uncanny valley, it's boring, is this the death of cinema? And so I think you kind of see that throughout the movie of like,
Mm-hmm.
as vaudeville died or as silent movies died, then the talkies started, oh my gosh, this is all brand new, and then comes the death of that old style of the golden age of Hollywood. And so you see in these clips like, oh, Star Wars or whatever else, or Star Trek, okay, we're now getting new 3D CGI, there's animation. I just think it was, yeah, a little too much at once and a little early. I think if Babylon would have come out this year, it would have been received completely differently. Best Picture nomination, loved or hated, it would have been talked about. But in
Yeah.
2022, it was just not. Not the right time nor the attitude,
Right.
But I'm
Yeah, I
glad
mean, it
you
was
liked it
good.
overall.
I liked it overall. I think, being able to see Margot Robbie as Barbie and then in Babylon, like it really demonstrates her range as an
Yeah.
actor, and it's very impressive.
And it's not even a spoiler anymore. It's been out long enough. Whatever, people. Go watch it. But Tobey Maguire, how'd you feel about his little bit in there?
I think he came out of like left field. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting to see him. And I almost was like, the guy from Great Gatsby, like it made me feel like I
Uh-huh.
was watching The Great Gatsby again. And I was almost expecting Leonardo DiCaprio to come out somewhere too. But yeah, what a silly kind of scene where, you know, he looked really sickly, but I think that was the point.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of stuff he was on to make him look so sickly, but as a good like last minute kind of villain, you know, fun to incorporate, almost kind of a throwaway character, like,
Yeah.
didn't really have a lot to do with the plot the entire time. It was just kind of the consequences of gambling debt. Like he was the personification of the consequences of gambling debt. But yeah, that whole everything through the sewers of LA was a trip.
It was gross. Yeah. The rat head. Oh, either way. Stupid fun fact because I have it. An old roommate of mine worked at Nobu, which is like a really famous sushi place here in LA. She served Tobey Maguire, and he was kind of creepy and like asked her for a number and stuff. And I was like,
Oh wow.
oh, don't do that. And she told me this story like months before, maybe like a year or two before this. Anyways, so when I saw him in this role, I'm like, yeah, that's seedy Tobey Maguire right there. Not too far off. Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't want to see some of these guys in real life, like they're just
For the
better as personas
best.
on screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For the best. Last little 2 second thing I'll talk about before I'm wrapped up today. The Day of the Jackal is on Peacock. Eddie Redmayne and oh, what's her name? Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch. It's pretty good so far. Only watched the first episode or two. International spy thriller, murder. She's trying to take him down, espionage. You know, if streaming would have been around 10 years ago or more when the Bourne movies came out, we would have had a lot more of these in rapid succession. We
Hmm.
didn't, so now we're getting them. But honestly, so far, this one seems to be good. Little slow burn. It's not just shoot 'em up the whole time. And I like Eddie Redmayne in a more serious role. I don't know about him killing people with those pursed lips of his, but still fun. Day of the Jackal on Peacock.
Oh, that's fun. I'll have to check it out.
Thanks again for everyone who's listened today. We'll be back with another episode next week, as well as some end of the year recaps coming up by the end of December. So go ahead and give those a listen. And until then, watch good TV and movies.